reproducible. So a developer gets your link of the bug and you send it out and say, hey, here is the bug, and he's not able to reproduce. Guess who's going to do more work? You or him, right? So he'll just simply reject it. It's easy for anybody to say, nah, it's not happening until you prove that is actually happening. So now there will be a lot of back and forth. He might say, oh, did you try running on Chrome? No, I didn't. Okay, can you try it? Sure. So you're going to go and try it. And then you're going to say, well, this is also happening in Chrome. Okay, great. Did you try running on Firefox? No, I didn't. Okay, try it again. So that's one thing. The other kind of question is like, how many attempts did you make? Did it happen the first time? And obviously, if this was your first bug, it probably happened for the first time and you got excited and reported. And now you feel like, oh, this is actually not a bug. It's just that there is uncertain things happen sometime when you're using the application. Sometimes it crashes. There is no real fix because they cannot reproduce it, right? So if a bug is not something that you can talk about and replicate, then it's not really a bug. Right? So just keep that in mind. It's really, really important that you have a lot of information, as much as information as possible on a bug. So let me just open this bug and let's look at it together and grade it. And you guys tell me if you guys agree with me or not. So it says, as a user, I'm able to move into the step page 2 without entering the last name. So that's good. Like what's really happening and where that is happening, right? Direct summary. So on the summary itself, you always want to be as direct as possible. So why do we do that, right? Why do we even put direct message, like what's happening and where? What is wrong and where, right? It's because if developers are working on things and they have 20 bugs, they can actually just easily read the title and they can group them together in order to fix them all together, if anything, right? So it's really, really easy for people to understand what the bug is all about without going into the details. But also sometimes we do bug triage, and in that meeting, maybe we're going over bugs and we're prioritizing the bug to make sure that we work on the right one, or at least we fix the right bug first, at least with the high priority. And now if your title doesn't make sense, it's really going to cost everyone some time, because now people have to go inside and read the description, understand it, or even reproduce it before they can actually talk about the bug and the priority. So it's always good to have the summary with a single line explaining what happened and exactly where. Just be direct instead of saying the step 2 page is not working, right? It's going to be very, the scope is pretty big when you say that, right? So the whole page is not working. What's really happening there? Okay, so now I see step 2 reproduce. Number 1, go to this website, enter the name. So last name is empty, and then you got the phone number and the zip code. And then there is an expected, I should get error message and should not be able to move into step 2 page and actual result. So this is exactly what's happening, right? So imagine you didn't even put actual and expected result. Maybe like the developer doesn't know what should happen. He would come and ask you, what were you expecting? So you need to be able to have some sort of expectation. Otherwise, really, how do you even, call it a bug? So just keep that in mind. Once that is done, you provide a screenshot. So you don't have to necessarily put one screenshot. You can put as many to help the developer. So now, even if you like think about yourself and for a second, if you imagine that you are that developer who's going to do, who's going to basically fix this bug, what do you think? Do you think you are able to reproduce this issue and then maybe apply a fix? But don't worry about the fixing for now, but at least you will be able to reproduce and know exactly where the bug is, right? So that this bug definitely is a valid one. Now, many companies, you're going to see that they care about a lot more information. They may just give you their own template. So you just have to follow that. But this is a general, very basic template that I showed you guys earlier in the earlier classes. Okay. So this is still a valid.
Did you mention how many times you've attempted it?
Here I don't see it. This is not my bug. I'm grading somebody's. This is something that came from Sonia. So
Yeah.
now, 1 second, guys. I smell something. I'm gonna go check, make sure my kitchen is fine. All right. It was just a heat on. Okay. So numbers of attempt, is it required? No, it's not required, but it is necessary. Really, if the bug is really obvious, then it's not necessary. But if I'm a QA, I will put numbers of attempt at least, so that way the developer doesn't doubt, thinking like, oh, did you try this? Did you try that? Did you refresh it? I would even put, I removed cache and cookie, and then I tried again, and this bug is still persisted. And the reason why I would do that I don't want to hear nothing later. I don't want the developer to come to me and say, hey, let's talk about it. You know what? Did you try this and did you try that? No, I tried everything. It's listed. Just read it. All right. So that's why I would put as much as detail as possible, at least from my side. But this will be acceptable. This is something actually at work. Sometime even QA don't even provide as much as detail as this, right? But this is, I would say, bare bone. This would be like the basic bug that you can create. Obviously, you're going to look into what is the norm and what is the standard for the team and the company that you will work with. And then you will just create the same bug, right? You'll just follow their template. So just keep that in mind. Every company, they will have a different way to create those bugs. But this is, think like this is a DTA. We work for DTA as a company, and we require you to do it this way. So you don't have to go to work and say, oh, this is exactly how it should be. You can say, oh, previously my company, I did this way. That's it. It's nothing wrong. There will be a lot of things that it's not even right and wrong answer, right? So this is still unacceptable. I will give, actually, I'm going to give it 10. And if somebody does a little bit better than this, I will do an extra credit. Okay, so this is, again, this is a good bug. Okay. So let's go into the next person. In the home page, user cannot select destination. So this is for hotel and booking resort. Okay, that's fine. In home page, user cannot select. Okay, so I believe that maybe was make believe, created. So I see the environment is there. I see the browser is there, and I see the steps to reproduce are there. Let's read the expected result, which is user should be able to find the location they are looking for. Okay, the search box did not pop up name, the name the user was looking for. So that is a valid bug. Usually this is the kind of bug you'll never see because it's very obvious. At least it would get caught at the unit testing level, but still a bug, right? So, and then we got the fixed version, we got the sprint that was assigned. So whenever you assign to a sprint, if this bug originated in sprint 2, then it goes into in sprint 2 regardless of high or low priority, unless they say we want that bug to go to the next sprint. Okay, so you always put it into the current sprint if that bug actually found in the current sprint, meaning before that bug never existed. One of the developer worked on something and now this bug exists. So you're going to create it in the current sprint. So this deserves a 10 as well. The next one. Guys, let me know if you guys have any question, okay? And I'm being pretty generous in terms of like grading. So, and again, like for writing the bug for the first time, because in the real work environment, I see nothing, not even half of this sometimes, and it just, and we have to work with it because that's how it is, right? Everybody is experienced and they would do whatever they need to do. But most of the time you will have a company standard, and that's something that you can follow. Okay, so this is the next one. Facebook login without valid email or phone number. So what is wrong with this bug? Facebook login without valid email or phone number. This is really not direct, right? I mean, I'm trying to understand what is really happening by reading the one line. I should be able to know what really happened and where by reading this one line. That's how it should be. So you can say user was able to log in without a valid email or a phone number. Okay. So really, that's where you want to improve this. You want to make sure that what happened and where exactly, and then you got the user use this URL. Okay, so we don't write it like this, right? So think like you're directing somebody to do something. So you're gonna say like a little bit more like go to this URL, and then go to login page. Okay, enter only valid password. Okay, keep the email and phone number box empty, and then click on search button. So like the whole step is, this is probably you know, like I don't know if you, because you're familiar with Facebook, so I wouldn't expect you to really mess up the steps to reproduce, right? Because if you made believe that somebody was able to log in without username and username and phone number, you should be able to at least explain better what's really happening. So you got to get better at writing the bug and explaining it, because it's not simply you write it and send it over. Somebody's going to say, okay, I'll correct it for you, right? They don't do that. Expected result. Like you see what's happening here, expected and actual result is very, you know, minimum. You don't have a lot of explanation. User should not able login a error message. So this tells me that the personality of the QA is not there yet, right? One of the personality of QA, Arafat, is what? Do you know?
Yeah, I actually was doing the rush. Like user should not able to log in with it and see a error message. Yeah.
Got it. But what is the personality of a QA?
Yeah, I should have a like
detail-oriented person, right? Remember, guys, and this is again, I'm telling you for the work advice, right? So if you ever join a company, take all the time you need, but do not make a mistake. Take all the time you need, do not make a mistake, because why? If you take all the time you need and you finish your work pretty late, you have a delayed process and you do it maybe at the last minute, whatever is the case, but you take your time and you do it right, you're still fine, right? Now, this bug, if somebody a developer read, they would be like laughing behind you, right? That's one thing. The second thing is that when you create a bug, you become center of the attention. Whenever you create a bug in a team space, you become center of attention, because now you are almost like accusing the developer, right? So now you're out there and you're saying, well, this is a bug. And the developer's like, no, this is not a bug. And then now the whole team is asking, okay, Arafat, tell me what happened. What's happening? Show us. So now we're giving them a demo. And now if somebody's reading this, that's going to be really, really, really bad image. But this is something that I mentioned to you guys last, class, is that the respect that you get from your team as a QA, you don't want to really have that kind of bad impression ever, right? So get used to take that extra time. Just know one phrase that I'm going to say to you guys, to all of you guys: do it right on your first try. That's it. Like, do it right on your first try, but take your time. Don't rush it, because QA job is not a rush job. You don't have to just like, okay, I'm going to submit it today right now, and they're going to give me like maybe like extra points or something. If you rush it and finish, then you're going to get more assignments. So really, it's not working on your favor, even if you finish it. So you want to take your time, because this is the type of mistakes. And again, I understand what basically I make mistakes like this too, but I think twice before I send an email, right? I think twice before I even finish writing a bug, because I don't want my respect and my reputation, or at least the standard they see me as, get hurt by my work that I'm doing, right? Because as a QA, they not only that they, trust us to find those bugs and everything, they also like, think that, oh, wow, these guys are critical thinkers. These guys are the ones who's going to actually make this product better. And the impression that we have to give them is like, yes, we're here. We're always going to be as critical as possible. It's up to you guys to let us know how much critical we can be, right? But we're going to, from the day one, we're going to be as critical as possible, right? We will criticize everything. We will try to find any flaws, even like a simple, period missing in a sentence, even like an uppercase, lowercase issue, anything, right? But this is the kind of bug that you will really not put it out there, because now you're center of attention in your workplace, and now they're going to read this in front of everybody, and you're going to say, oh God, why didn't I wait for half an hour more and just write these steps with thinking? But the most important thing here is kind of surprising, is that you know what Facebook is, and you couldn't even write me a very good steps to reproduce, right? So at a workplace, do not jump the gun, because again, that's really going to hurt you in the long run, and you may even not even like working there anymore. You will feel weird because now everybody thinks something, right? You're gonna feel like, oh wow, they probably think I am this and I am that. So always have your respect, your space, and always make sure that you maintain your integrity, because that's what we have. We have to have that kind of standard. I don't know what other people are saying in other schools and where they do, QA classes and stuff. But trust me, when you are out there and joining a job, you will be, trust me, you will be getting a lot of respect if you follow this kind of, at least advice, right? So just keep that in mind. And again, like I said to you guys, if you don't have the personality, fake it till you make it. So at least fake it here. And before you know it, in the 4 months, you're going to be able to make it, right? You will develop the personality. You will actually change. And the change will only happen if you accept. Change will only happen if you spend the time. Change will only happen if you really take this seriously. So remember, time is everything. If you don't spend time, then this is going to happen again and again, and you actually will leave the class with nothing, right? You actually will probably, let's say somehow we are able to help you get a job, you're still going to be really not going to be one of those QA who's going to really take pride on their job. So by the time we finish this course, I want everybody to at least have a feeling that they really, really enjoy doing QA. And that's only going to happen if you right now just blindly follow what we're saying. Just really, like, if you don't have that kind of feeling, just follow exactly what we're saying and do the homework with all the honesty and all the time that you have, right? Do it from the day one when we give you the homework, so that you don't have to rush it last minute. Okay. So again, piece of advice, I think you guys should always take that, because that's gonna not only make you better, but also it'll make our life easier too at the end of the course. Okay, so this is another one, SSP 63. Instant help menu doesn't open. Now where? You know what I'm saying? So this is half of the puzzle. I always mention summary should be where and what happened. So you wrote what happened, but I don't know where. Okay. Then we have an URL. I don't know what to do with this URL, right? So you're not saying anything about, like, we go to this URL and do this and this. Reproduce, basically access the homepage on Google Chrome. Okay, tap the code request for instant health code. Observe the menu does not open as expected. See, like, that's not good enough to me, at least, right? So you're gonna write, you had a format to follow and you didn't follow the format. Okay, so that's one. Even if you look online, you're gonna see at least most of the online template out there will have similar on how I gave you. Now here, what is the problem? I wouldn't mind if you wrote like reproduce and, just a paragraph. I would actually expect if you wrote one step at a time, right? Because if you write a paragraph, unlike, it's going to be very unlikely people will read it. But if you write step 1, go to this, step 2, click on this link. Step 3, do this. Step 4, this happened, right? And then expected result and actual result is missing. That is a big no, right? So you're missing. So what are you really expecting? You're saying this is happening, right? And I can, as a developer, I'm reading it. I'm like, yeah, that's true. That's working as design. What are you going to say, Zinnia? It's working as design. And I'm coming back to you and saying it's working as design.
Okay, so I will maybe show the screenshot, but I understand that my mistake. But I'm just saying for my defense, maybe I will just say, I opened this and this thing has happened and it's not working, or I'm not finding the code form to sending the code.
Okay, so that's the right approach. Yes, you will go and give whatever he needs. But was this necessary? That's my question. It was totally unnecessary interaction at this point.
Yeah, I understand that.
If you, yeah, no, that's fine. No, I'm saying like, no, that's a good thing what you said, that you will go and give him whatever he needs. Maybe he needs the screenshot, but screenshot is already there. Now he might just ask you, what were you expecting? Because it's not, it's not very clear, right? So we have to be very, very explicit. When you find a bug, really,
yes.
How do you even find a bug? We compare expected result versus actual result. So half of your bug will be copied from your test case anyway, right?
Yeah.
In the real world. So just keep that in mind. Okay, environment, you got the software platform, laptop, Mac OS. Okay, okay. So these really want a web-based application. Most of these things doesn't matter. What matters is the browser, and what matters the version of application, right? So it's good that you put there, but what I would do, I would follow what kind of template they have. Maybe they want to know environment, maybe they want browsers. And then I would follow exactly how everybody else is writing about. So on your first day, what would you, on your second day, let's say, first day you meet and greet, you just say hi and hello and meet everybody in your team. On your second day, what would you do? You would start asking for existing stuff. You're going to say, can I see some existing test cases? Can I see some existing bugs? Can I see existing stories? Can I get access to Jira? If they don't have Jira, they might have something similar to Jira. So you're going to say, I used Jira in my previous project. What are you guys using? Oh, we're using Azure DevOps. Okay, can I get access to that? Can I see, where can I see test cases? Where can I see test scenarios and things like that, right?
Yeah.
So now on your third day, you can actually work because you already have samples of everything. Okay, that's how easy and simple it's going to be if you are a manual tester. Okay, now, all right, so let's get past this and go to the next person. And I hope you understand my feedback. Like I said, guys, I am not criticizing, I'm just trying to, and yeah, maybe sometime, but again, it's to make sure that you guys understand what's happening. All right, I'm gonna give you half in this case, just to make sure. Yeah, so you did fine. Reproduces fine. It's just not the way that we would. Did I give you 5? What was this? This is the one, right? This is 63. Yeah. Okay. Okay. Next one. All right. So I'm gonna try to go real fast now because we have some programmings to do today. And today, don't worry about the setup because I'm gonna give you guys something online to do. Because we're going to do the setup maybe the next class, since we have to do this homework right now. We'll take a break, of course, after the homework review, and then we'll come back and start doing the programming. Okay, so and expect the class to be a little bit lengthy because we gotta at least finish to the certain length. Okay, so now summary. In the flight booking page, it showed multiple airport destination. If the user don't put any airport information for the arrival flight, it showed. So again, not very clear, right? What's really wrong? What is wrong with this, right? And what, you did say flight booking page, so this was great. This was fine. it showed multiple, but is it, like usually like something is wrong, right? So you say in this page, something is wrong. What is wrong, right? What is exactly happening? So there I would be more clarified. And then you have step to recreate, right? So the step to reproduce, recreate is the same thing for some of you guys to know. Notice the format. Come on, you're a QA person. Your standard should be high. Look at the spacing, guys. The first one. Okay, so this single space, if you're following the same single space everywhere, so why not here too, right? It doesn't really look good for your eyes because it looks like somebody who maybe 5 or 6 years old actually did this. So professionalism actually needs to kick in here, right? So for most of you guys, take extra time, look into the format and things like that. It's always good. So, okay, so this is fine. I see the spacing issue, right? I see like, again, this one is indented already. And this is something really, this is just because, and look, S is not capital. And, this is something basically you want to do it for yourself. This is not something that I'm saying, oh, you have to do this, This is something that will keep your reputation good in front of your teammates, right? And you want to do it because obviously you're better than somebody who just uses the computer for Facebook, right? You should be more than an average person who uses the computer, right? And that doesn't shows here, right? If you really look at the formatting, things like that. So always think about the format. If you have problems following this, write it somewhere else, write it in Word document or write it somewhere that you feel like can format it and then bring it in, copy and paste it. But I would say take that extra 5 minutes before you submit, because this is going to really, help you to keep your image intact, because as a QA person, they look at your integrity, they look at the kind of personality you should have, because they trust you. Remember, they're not testing your work. Okay, so you're just literally going out there and telling people this doesn't work and this doesn't work, and they just going and fixing and things like that. So you have to have some sort of, image within your team. Now I see like version is Google Chrome. I don't see the numbers of the version. So that is, you're saying Google Chrome. This is like actually just browser, right? Version. What is the version? Is it the browser version you're talking about, or is it the application version? So you have to be more specific. Expected result. You could have made this bold. You could have made this bold, and you could have made this bold, and it would look so much better. And I'll show you. And it's 1 to 3, right? It just takes that extra few seconds. And then save. Just see how it looks right here, in with the indent, even with that indentation right here. But in this case, you did get this one partially correct. Your step to reproduce is fine. I can see that you're entering NYC, you're entering passenger 1. This is the date. Okay, and then you're doing, all right, and then click on search. Expected result, user should get a message saying something went wrong, please fix the error. No, fix the error. It's fine. I mean, I will not say anything, but again, obviously user will not say, okay, will not get a message that will say fix the error. They will say, hey, something went wrong, please try again, right? Most likely it will be like something like that. If your developer knows what exactly went wrong, they would probably create some sort of handling to say this is wrong, your destination is wrong, or you don't have any information on your to, right, field and things like that. So they will be specific if they know exactly what is wrong. But if they don't know what is wrong, usually server issue, they will say something went wrong because they don't know exactly, they cannot guess. But if they can actually accurately guess, then they will be more specific on this error messaging. Okay, this is called field validation. When we do field validation testing, you are going to be testing for this. Actual result, it showed multiple city and airport around the world. So if you don't put anything, obviously it will give user preference. So I'll give you, credit for the bug, but again, it doesn't make sense. This is a bug. This is working as designed. If you didn't enter anything, obviously it's going to give But if you made believe this is a bug, that's fine. It's acceptable, right? Because we want to just we care more about what you are doing with your bug. Okay, so then I will give you a 6 here because I feel like it could have been, you know what I'm saying? Honestly, when I see formatting issue, I should probably invalidate the bug and say, okay, no, it's 0. But it's just, we want to make sure that we give you proper credit for at least certain work that you did. But again, it's the image. You're not keeping up your image from of your coworkers, guys. Come on, what's wrong with you guys? Like, come on, fix yourself. This is where you fake it till you make it. Try to at least pretend to be somebody who is very well organized, somebody who cares about what they write, somebody who really reads it the second time before submitting something. So just make sure you do that. Okay, so the next person. This must be the last bug. Okay. All right. This seems very yeah. Let me see, when did you update this? You can see the work log, right? You can see history and things like that. Okay, that's good. That's good. Okay. Sorry, Evelina, I didn't want to.
Wait, what? I'm sorry. What happened?
No, because I see nicely done, right? All the formatting and things like this. I was like, oh, maybe somebody is, just doing it on the fly.
No. I did it yesterday.
Okay, that's good. So now here is the history, right? This is where actually sometime your manager will see what you have been doing and things like that. So it's always good to be, someone as a QA, keep your respect by doing things right. And obviously at some point you will enjoy the job and you'll probably really have a personality where people will just like, oh wow, this person will never ever let go anything. They're critical, right? So we are the critical person at this point, and that's what we get paid for. Imagine like a game tester comes in and they said, oh, I don't know, I never played game, so that's the thing, right? We get paid to just say, okay, this is not working, and just report it. And then if they don't want to fix it, they don't want to fix it. We don't care about that. We're just going to go and find as many issues as we can find. If you ever, I don't know how many of you guys bought a house, or maybe someone that bought a house. If you ever have a home inspector, right? And if you ever looked into the inspection report, you're going to see at least 20, 30, 40 pages. And even if there is a small, like maybe a window crack or whatever, he will write it down. It doesn't mean like, oh, he wants you to fix it before you buy it. You can probably bargain about it, but the reason he writes it down is because that is his job. He's going to find absolutely everything. And for him, he will get sued if, let's say, something that he didn't find, and now you have a big, maybe big bill after buying the house, right? So you can actually sue the person. Obviously, the insurance covers that. But as a QA, we don't get sued. We are just direct employees, or we're probably a contractor. We don't get sued or anything, right? But we want to have same level of, work ethic, right? We don't want to just go out there and just really do here and there, like move our mouse a couple of times and we feel like we did something, right? You're not going to feel good about that. So just keep that in mind. Just do it right for first time. Take your time, do it, proofread it, do whatever you need to do, but don't jump the gun right away. Okay, so now let's see. When instructing to switch language to Russian, the site is still displaying mostly in English. Okay, that might be even a valid bug because, this might be something that they accepted it, right? Like, okay, we cannot translate everything. So for example, this company, they might just say, okay, we cannot.
It's valid. Yes, it's valid.
Yeah. So it sounded like a valid bug when I read it. So I mentioned that. But this is something like I can give you some educated guess what happens in the team where, like, let's say Evelina found this bug, went to and then reported. They're going to say, oh, you know what? Put it in the backlog. And they will put it in the backlog all the way in the bottom of the backlog. Now they never get to it. They never get to it. They go all the way in the bottom somewhere. And because it's low priority, they're saying, okay, people still can do their stuff. It's just that we don't have, enough resources to get to this specific, to fix this. So we'll put it in the backlog. But sometimes they will also say, okay, we translated just enough for people to move around. That's fine. We don't want to do any more. That's fine, right? So again, this is going to be up to the PO, product owner's call, and the rest of the, not even rest of the team. It's just the product owner who's going to say, well, I don't want this. And you will see sometime product owner coming into the team space and say, I don't like this. I don't want this. And why do they even sound like they are the one who ordering or, making the application? It's because they are talking on behalf of the user. They're the one who actually did the research. They're the one who did user interviews to come up with the list of items that they want to have in their application. So they know exactly what they need. Their only job is to come up and tell you what they need, what they want, right? So they probably do that better, right? So, and our only job is finding issues. So we should do that better instead of saying, okay, I think we can do better. Suggestion is always welcome, but I think we should focus on our job, try to do as good as we can. And then, yes, if we have the time, we will suggest. But yes, this is a great bug. I mean, right off the bat, I can just look into it like step 1, step 2, step 3, and then there is credentials. Information is not required. Screenshots. My print screen. Okay, that's fine. Acceptable. This is acceptable, but again, if you have a Windows, I think there is something called Snipe tool. But if you don't have a Windows, then and you have a Mac, you can always go ahead and download a third-party app on your system. But be careful, if you get a company's laptop, you don't want to install anything without asking them, because you will get fired. That's not even a question. Okay, so now that's the security issue, right? So they will probably revoke your access first, and then they will then fire you after. What happened to my, okay. Oh God, okay, let's see. Create a new bug. All of this grade is gone for some reason. Okay, this is crazy. Okay. Let me see if it holds. Oh, okay, I gotta do it again. Okay, that's fine. So last one was actually a 10. This one, this is insane. Okay, so I will probably remember, just remind me if I did do it correctly. This one in flight, blah, blah, blah. Okay, this is where I said, okay. It's gonna give you, I believe was a 6. Any question, guys, before we, move into how many people are excited about programming and how many people are not? Let's talk about that.
I'm very excited. Let's go.
All right, that's good. It's actually something fun. I personally enjoy coding, and I spend hours. I spend sometimes nights, sleepless nights, and this is a good one as well. Okay, this is, I think we talked about it. Python is probably, okay, so if you do data analytics, and if you're more on the data side, Python is good, right? Python is probably also something people are going to use more and more in the future. But I think JavaScript is probably also really good, because JavaScript, not only that we can get paid more, because JavaScript is like almost like a full stack, right? Not only that you can do front-end development, but you can also actually use JavaScript for scripting purposes or automation, test automation, creating apps, front and back end both. So there's a little bit more value on the JavaScript side. So if you're asking me who makes more money, I would say JavaScript developers. Facebook user. Okay. Environment com, okay. That is in password. I believe this was. Do you guys remember what's?
Sorry, Joel, but that's mine. I think I submitted like an hour ago.
Yeah.
This is not Sives. This is mine, Chargers.
Okay. Okay, so we're just looking at for the first time then?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, the user, I am able to proceed to second page without using the password. Okay. So you go to Google, enter username, enter password. Okay, so no password. Enter wrong password or no password. That is where you lost me, right? Because, oh, what am I doing? Because you want to tell me exactly what you did. Exactly what you did, right? Not telling me do this or do that, right? Because it can have different outcome. And now I'm going to say, wait a minute, I never see that bug, right? You can tell me as a note in the bottom to say, okay, it happens when you enter wrong password or no password, right? But you want to tell me exactly what was your workflow, right? So that way we can accurately, recreate this bug. But it does have reproduce, step to reproduce. This is fine. Expected result, user should not be able to log in with his or her Facebook profile. No, with or his or her password, right? User was able to log in. Okay, that's fine. Google Chrome environment. Environment is actually like QA, dev, or staging environment. This is a browser. So category is wrong. You might want to categorize this as a browser. Okay, so then I will give you an 8. You're pretty close. Okay, so the next one. I'm doing this work twice, but I will, so right now is 8:46. I'm gonna, as soon as I finish this one, obviously I'm gonna grade the remainings later on my own time, and I'm gonna publish the result. So, but we will jump into programming after this, right? So that way we can continue with the class, okay? Okay, this one, go to hotel resort. Okay, this was probably 8:10. We talked about this. Speed, okay, this was Sonia's. Go to, okay, I think this was also a good one. Again, spacing and all that stuff, just have to make sure that, okay, so I'm gonna save it now so that way next time I can go in there and finish the 2 other questions. Now, all right, so a few things, guys. I would like to give you guys some introduction first on programming. And normally what happens, how do we write program in our local machine on your own computer? So today's class is going to be like the just concept, and also why do we do programming in the first place? Why do we even need programming? 2 reasons. One is that you are going to need it for test automation. So if you realize a test case you execute again and again and again every 2 weeks, you should probably automate that, right? I mean, you're always looking for the same results and you're always asking for the same thing. So you should probably put it into a system where it will do it automatically for you. Now, automation takes a little bit more time than writing a simple test case because you have to write code and you have to also write efficient code. It's not just code. And you have to also make sure that you have the, the application I'm getting around in order to write this code. Programming is really something that will, I would say, and this is like my tips and tricks at this point, right? Nothing to do with the actual programming, the language, but my tips for you guys today is going to be, take this advice again. If you really want to learn the basics, because we're not teaching advanced, right? We're just teaching basics, and then you will be able to do your job if you learn it. But my advice to you guys is going to be practice. Even if you didn't listen to me in the class, practice. That's what's going to make you more knowledgeable. If you listen to me really carefully and then you didn't do practice later, then you didn't learn anything. Trust me, you're going to look at the code and you're going to say, wow, I know this. But then when it comes about writing a single line, you're going to say, oh, I don't know how to do this, right? So programming is never going to be something that you can just pour some knowledge into somebody's brain. It's all about trial and error. You're going to make a lot of mistakes, and those mistakes are going to teach you something. So whenever you're making a mistake, don't give up, just keep going. Okay. And then also we have outside resources for us to get help, which is your Google. Google is your friend, and you need to know how to search on Google, because any programmer, anybody you ask, if you have a friend who does development, if you have, if you actually have somebody, your loved ones, maybe a developer, whatever is the case, when they write code, they don't just go ahead and memorize everything and do everything from the memory. There is a little bit of research is needed, because the naming and conventions and things like that is really, really hard to remember. But what you should remember is the fundamental. You need to know the ABCs. If you know the ABCs, then you will then be able to spell a word. So same thing in programming, the fundamentals really, really matter, because if you know the fundamentals, you're going to be fine at some point. But if you miss the fundamentals and you're going to say, oh, this is so basic, I'm just going to go and write over it, that's where you're going to be in trouble, because now everything is going to look like a mystery. You run a line of code and you'd be like, wow, this is magic, right? You really have no idea why that is happening, whatever you're seeing on your screen. So my advice is practice, practice, practice. So you should be at least keeping yourself busy with 1 or 2 hours of practice in writing code. And obviously the homework is not going to be as easy as now, because we're going to give you guys to write programs as a homework. So you're going to probably struggle a little bit, but those struggle is going to teach you something. Okay. So now with that said, it's 8:51. I'll see you guys at 9, and we're going to start learning more about Java. We're going to learn more about why, Java language, and what are maybe a few things about Java language, and then we'll also start to write some code. Okay, so I'll see you guys in 8 minutes and we'll get started.
Joel, are you talking?
All right, guys, I think some of you guys are back by now, but we will get started. All right, so before we get started, any of you here that did some level of programming before? Anybody? Nobody, right? Okay. That's fine. Just wanted to know so that way I can also ask you questions and stuff during the class to make it more interactive. By now, I think all of you guys are back, correct?
Yes, I think.
Okay. All right. Okay, so let's get started. The first thing first is that I want to talk about this specific tool. There is many like it. This is just one that I choose. It's more cleaner look. So Java is something that we can we have to write into a developer tool where we can write the code and it gives us like suggestions on if we make mistakes or not. But most importantly, it formats our code to make it look good. But also Java needs a compiler to basically run your code. So now today, because we're just starting today in the basic class, I'm going to use this online compiler. This is something also they use it in the interview. So that way you don't have to set up anything in your system just yet. We're going to set up on the next class all together, all of us together, to make sure everybody's computer has Java and runs Java perfectly. But today, just for the introduction and for intro to programming, let's not focus on the tool. Let's focus on writing some code, right? Understanding what we can do with Java. Now, and obviously, like we'll set things up when we are ready to do it on the next class. So just keep that in mind that whatever you're seeing right now is just a online compiler where we can write some code. And when you run this code, you can actually see the output, what really happens, okay? So the first thing first about Java, Java is a popular programming language, and that's why we chose, because no matter where you're looking for jobs on the test automation side as a QA engineer, there is more higher percentage of jobs out there with somebody who has Java skill set. And the other thing that you want to know is that Java is probably a bit more harder to learn compared to Python and Ruby and some of the scripting language that you guys are familiar with. So now you're learning a harder language, but it gives you a little bit more idea about programming. You kind of learn a little bit more than just know how to use some of the, tools and technology that it has. You just know the name and know how to use it, but you don't know really what happens behind the scene. So it's always good to learn Java first, because that way you get the fundamentals right. And then you can jump into a bit more easier programming language like Ruby or Python. And so that way you can be a better programmer. Okay. So no matter what, when you know how to code, you are a programmer. It doesn't have to be, I'm a QA. No, you're going to be still classified as a programmer because you write program for QA purposes. So you can actually, if somebody doesn't understand your role, like for example, they ask you, what do you do? And you'd be like, oh, I'm a QA engineer. Oh, what does that mean? Well, think like a developer, right? Think somebody who writes code. I am a software engineer. And now they understand, right? So you can, when you write code, you can actually tell them you're a software engineer because you are writing a software that will test another software. Okay, so if you really want to be more technical about your roles, you can be, you're still going to be correct about calling yourself as a programmer or a software developer. Now, Java can be used as a platform independent language, so it can be used to develop mobile app, web app, desktop app, gaming, and this is because it has a JVM, Java Virtual Machine, that always translate the language into the native language, right? It basically tells the device that the task is going to be running in, or the device that the program is going to run in, that, okay, do it, basically compile it in their native language, so that way they understand. So that's why Java can be used for really anything at this point, game or even like iOS and Android apps. You see on your screen, is it big enough, or we want to make it bigger? I can make it bigger. Okay, so let's make this 175 big enough, right?
Yes.
So any programmer so far, even if you learn coding at school, the first thing you're going to write is a single line of code called hello world, where you just basically print out hello world. That's it, right? So, you know, this means something to programmers because everybody had to do at some point something like this, right? Where they wrote a single line. So now I'm going to go ahead and run it for you. And simply the only output that you're probably going to see is that hello world. And it just tells me what, you know, program it ran, but then it tells me the hello world is printing it, right? So now all you have to know here is that this is a Java main method, okay? So anything that you want to execute, it has to be inside of it, okay? And then it comes with curly brace. Curly brace is like a bucket, right? So now this is a bigger bucket, okay? It starts here and it ends here. And this is a smaller bucket inside of the bigger bucket. Okay, so anything belongs to this guy will be inside of this one. This is like a container. Okay, so just think like that. Now, again, Java, why Java? Java works on different platforms, as I mentioned. It can run on Windows, Mac, Linux, even Raspberry Pi. It is one of the most popular, and it's also will make you into a programmer, because now not only that you know how to use it, but you also know fundamentals. And it does have a lot of demand, okay? And it is open source, obviously, so we don't do pay for anything. And a huge community to support. So even if you are getting stuck with something, you can always Google it and somebody will answer your question. Or you will probably already find the answer that you are looking for online. And Java is very close to you know, C++ or C#. So any of you guys went to school for maybe computer science, if you did your first semester, then you already know what C++ is. It is very close to both language. If you know C++, then you're probably a really good programmer by now, because it's really, really, you know, it requires some skill sets to be able to write some programming in C++. Okay, so now let's get started. The first thing that I mentioned, the installation of Java on your computer, we're going to do a text class. Today, we just want to get a little bit of overview, so that way we get to write very basic programming, right? Very basic programs, and get used to these things right here. We can see the line number on the left. You can see these things. What are these, right? So I'm going to introduce you to the basic as possible. So now the first thing about Java syntax, again, main method is used in order to compile the code. So whatever code you write, it has to have the main method. Okay, it has to be inside of it. So you cannot write here. If you write here, somehow you should be able to pull that code here, meaning you should be able to call it. And we'll talk about those as well. All right, so main method is always required. Just keep that in mind. You have to have the main method for every program. So no matter what you do, you have to have it. The next thing that you're seeing, again, this is the whole main method, right? So just remember, you're going to basically see this again and again. So you're going to probably memorize it by the time you finish. Now, if you want to print something, so let's say, you know, you want to see what's happening in the program. Usually when you write a program, you want to see if it's working. And because of that, we usually print the output to see what really happened. So now in Java, there is a way to print out the whatever comment or whatever you want, right? So in this case, hello world is something that we can print out, but it needs system.out.println. So this is something that will allow you to print out whatever you want. It can be a message, it could be something else. So we can talk about something else later, but keep in mind, I didn't make this rule, right? System.out.println. So you just have to know what that is. If you want to print something in your program, you need this. Okay, so eventually, you don't have to memorize it, but eventually you will probably know it by heart because you're going to type this so many times, you have no idea. Okay, so println usually means, so they have print and they have println, right? And println means that it will print this and it will also have an empty line. Sorry, it will print this and it will basically go to the next line. That means if you have this again and again, okay, let me try another one right there somewhere, and I'll do compile. So now it will come into what? This compiler is going crazy, but okay. Is the output that was displaying? But if you do print, let's see, println is not working as it should. That's the bug. Okay, println and print shouldn't be same. So why is this different here? Because these guys, they put everything here in the website, so we don't have to. So let's go into use another one because I don't think this is already misleading us. I'm going to go into another one, something more, I guess, like online Java. Maybe that's better. We just need somewhere where we can write some code, basically. So, okay, let's run it. This seems better. Okay, so now you see this same thing, system.out.println. It's probably good for your eyes. It's dark theme, so I'm going to go ahead and run it. Okay, it does take a long time, but as you can see, it printed in the next line, not right next to it. So if I go ahead and remove this, it will now combine it because it will just print it right next to each other, right? So what does that mean? It just means that you have two utility here. You can print it the way that you want, or you can even print it, you see right here. So you can print it however you want, basically. If you need println, then you use println. So I'm going to tell you throughout the whole class what is available to you as a tool, and you're going to use that to create programs. You're going to use that to create games, whatever you want to create. So just keep that in mind. Now, the next thing that we want to talk about is going to be, and I would probably prefer we did it together, honestly, like all this, but it's okay. We're going to give a nice homework so you will be able to do all this practice. So now, what if you want to type something else? It doesn't have to be like, okay, hello world or something. So as you can see, it can be really anything within this double quotation. And that's how we will write, even if we want to write a sentence, right? So what if I do without the double quotation? What happens? Let's see. Okay, so one I'll remove. So what just happened here? If I run it, it does take a long time. You know what? Let me go into another one. But anyway, let me just use the other one. Actually, it does take a long time to compile. Don't have all the patience. Let's see, JSFiddle. JSFiddle probably is one of the highly used one, to be honest. And this is something that, okay, but it's doing some math. We don't need that kind of math right here. So we'll just write something. Okay, this is my Java program, right? And then I'll remove this unnecessary stuff. I'm going to go ahead and execute this. And now you can see it says the Java at line number 4. And again, as a programmer, because you don't have a customer service and you cannot call them, my Java is not working, right? We can't say that, right? Because we are the technical person. We are the people who's gonna, help ourselves to fix whatever code issue that we see. Now here, you're gonna basically look into it and you're gonna figure out what's really happening. It says line number 4 is the problem. So the feedback that you get after executing your code is meant for developers to use in order to fix any mistakes they have in their code. Okay, so this is not something that will freak you out and say, okay, my program is not working, I'm done, it's not going to work ever. You have to read it and you have to look at the line number. It's very helpful to give you exactly what is happening. Now, this sentence is not printing out is because this sentence is not known to Java. But if I say, don't worry about what it is inside of a double quotation, Then Java says, okay, I don't care what's inside of it. I'll just print it for you, right? So it takes it as one of the known data type. It doesn't care what is the data is, but it cares about the type. So this is a data type called string. So we're going to learn that as well. Let's go into, so we learned about printing, right? So how do I print without having a second line, guys? Who can answer this?
How
Who
do
wants to
we
answer this?
say that again?
How do I print without having a second line? So like, let's say this, copy that, and then I will go ahead and
Without
And-
ln,
without ln, is that correct? So anybody want to correct this?
Without having a second,
think
yeah,
correct.
you ln from both.
Right. Okay, so now we have, again, no two pieces of information about printing. You can print just like this, or you can print it together without ln. So you're right. Now the next thing that we want to talk about is, you're able to print out some words, right? Sentence. Okay. Now, what if you want to print numbers? Do I do this? Right now, program is known to be something that a program should know what number is. So why do we have to put it inside of the code, right? So when you put a number, you don't have to put it inside of the code, because any program will know what the number is. What is the number to begin with? So we don't have to tell them number is a number. We don't have to say it, right? But when you type something is unpredictable, so you have to put it inside of the quotation to say this is a string type, this is going to be some words or some sentence, some paragraphs, whatever is the case. But in case of numbers, there's going to be only one possibility, right? So program knows exactly what the number is, as you can see. Okay, let me just execute this real quick. 6. As you can see, that 6 is something that it ran. Again, like even this tool uses memory and all this stuff, so it does take a little bit of time to execute. So that's why in the next class, we're going to set everything up on our machine. Maybe I should just set up right now. I'll do it from my side because it's getting annoying.
Joel bhai, the first program you were using, the program is, so when I refreshed it, it's actually perfect. You are looking for, it wasn't using the second line and stuff. It's working well. If you, I don't know if you want to give it a try.
Try that. Okay.
Yeah,
No,
and
that's fine. I mean, at least my machine has this set up where I can type this locally. Now, yeah, so maybe I'll just start from there, so that way you guys, nobody's confused, because ultimately we're going to use this, right? So first thing first, that I'm going to do, I'm going to create a project, Java project, so we can create our program. Okay, so new project, and I'm going to say, I would like to create a Java. So I'm going to say first day at Java, right? First day at some name, right? So Java, for example. And I'll do Maven because then it will automatically pull that version of Java. As you can see, JDK 18 is being used, so it's pretty up to date. I'm going to open it in a new window.
This is not IntelliJ, right?
This is IntelliJ.
It is? Okay.
Yes, it's IntelliJ. So we're going to use this at some point. We're going to actually go ahead and use this the next class. So I'm going to have you guys set up this. Some of you guys probably do have set up from the last class. So if you do, then you're fine. But if not, then I'm going to make sure that everybody has this set up and working perfectly. So the next thing is I'm going to create a Java class. This is where we're going to write. So you see how the Java class is. So we're going to write it. We're going to create it ourselves now. And this is our project. So I'm going to say new Java class, and I'm going to give it a name. I'm going to say learning 1 or lesson 1. Okay, so this is going to be a lesson 1. Click enter.
It's misspelled.
And then we, oh goodness, okay. Let me fix that. It should, because this IDE, the reason why we use IDE is because it kind of gives us suggestions. So as you can see, it's telling me it's misspelled automatically. So let's see, save, delete now, more action. Let's see typo, and then I can now rename it. Okay, that's good. So notice it fixed this and this. So whenever you write your Java class, it has to match with the actual file name as well. So now tell me something. I'm going to write something. I'm going to make a mistake in purpose because we did this in the very beginning. System.out.print, right? Print ln, and I will now start typing something. And again, like I said, I don't care how long it takes. We're going to go slow with programming, but I care about interaction, guys. So the more you communicate, it's going to be better for you and for me. So now I'm going to say, okay, hello world.
Can you
That's the
please make
one.
this a little bit bigger?
Yeah,
Zoom in.
1 second.
Thank you.
Let's see if I can. Okay, so it should be fine now. Okay, I'm gonna just full screen this for now, and then hopefully, is it better now?
Yes, thank you.
Mhm. Okay, so now let me just move that in the bottom. Okay, so now here I wrote hello world, and we already seen how hello world worked. I want people to tell me if this is gonna work or if this is not gonna work.
It's not gonna work. Main method is missing.
Okay, that's the immediate answer. That's good. Anybody else thinks otherwise?
Yeah, you need the main code.
Main
Yeah, the
method,
public
right? So we
static
need
void.
the. So in Java, again, keep in mind always main method is a necessary. Okay, so let me just start writing if I can remember. Public static
void. Main
void main, and then we do string.
String.
Oops. And then I believe args, and then we're gonna do this way. It has to be inside. So notice immediately it recognized this IDE is your friend at this point, right? And it's immediately recognizing what you wrote, and it's telling you, hey, if you want, you can run it. So I'm gonna go ahead and run it just to see that actually my code program is doing at least the bare minimum, so I can write further. I can do a little bit more than just this, okay? So now I just see that it did the work, right? I can even like give you guys this, hello world, and go ahead and run it real fast. And I can see that my code is, okay, let me see, why is everything so slow? Okay, there you go. So hello world, it might be just my computer, but now hello world with the right message showed up, okay? So just keep that in mind. So we just learned a few things about printing, and we now, like, what if you want to print number, right? So you can say the same thing, .out.print ln, and because number is something program knows, and they play with numbers all the time. I mean, programming language pretty much can know about what is 1 and what is 2. So we don't have to say quotation, because if I write quotation and I write a number inside, your Java thinks this is this is an unpredictable, maybe a string, something. It could be any characters of your choice. So that's why you put it into double quotation. So now here, number, I'm going to put, let's say 9 or something, and then it will go ahead and print it. So any numbers you want to put it in like this, and it will go ahead and print it for you. The next thing is when we write programs, sometime when we write complex code, it's really, really hard for us to even come back and understand what we did, right? That's one. The second thing is that sometime when we write program, we want to tell our fellow developers that, hey, this is something is important, don't erase it, don't remove it, or whatever is the case, or if you're going to work with this one, make sure you do this. So piece of advice, notes, whatever you call it, in a programming language, and it can be Python, it could be Java, it could be C#, whatever you call, it's called comment. Okay, it's called comments. So you comment it out. That means that Java will not compile that specific line. It will not run it. It is not part of the program. That is just a note. So wherever you want a note. So in the beginning, let's say I would like to put a note, and I'm going to single line comment. So now, as you can see, it's grayed out. So at least because you were using an IDE like IntelliJ, it's kind of giving you some color code to tell you what is right and what is wrong. And that is just an extra help that you're getting. you could have write this code in a notepad and you wouldn't get any feedback, right? You wouldn't, you would see everything the same color, everything. So it's always better to write your program in a IDE, and everybody does it. And this is an IDE that we're going to install the next class. So today's class, just worry about the basic, don't worry about it. And we're gonna, part of the homework will be installations and being able to write a few things. So I'll give you exactly how to install everything in writing, so you can just follow and be able to do it. Now, if you join as a automation guy, your setting up the system is your responsibility. So if you get stuck, try it at least a few times, try it at least, 6, 7, 8 times before coming to us and say, hey, I don't know how to do this. Because you are the one, you're expected to actually be more technical and be able to do your own things. Okay, this is your single line comment, right? But what if you have paragraphs, right? What if you want to type a paragraph and say, and put more extra notes? Then you can actually do it this way. /*, and then you close it with // and now I can have this is a multi-line comment. So I can have more than one line if I like to, and that's the beauty of this, because what if you want to write a paragraph? What if you want to have more than just one thing? So this kind of helps, okay? And this is true also if you use like database, MySQL. It has the similar syntax for commenting it out. Now, anybody has any question about single line and multi-line? Why do we even use it? So let's see who wants to answer this question, right? Let's see, maybe Saif. Why do you think comment matters in your program? Why would you use it?
Maybe because people can't read the regular code, so it has to be more accurate with the single line comment. I don't know.
Okay, who else? Who can answer? Mukta, can you answer this?
So the comments could be used to like put more details in the about the code or anything that you just want to write. So it doesn't get, it doesn't become a code, but you could just write it down for notes.
Right, because a month later you come to the same code and I can guarantee you will not know what the code does. And even for an experienced developer, do you really want to spend 5 hours understanding? Because you know how to write code doesn't mean you're going to come and sit down and spend excessive amount of time to kind of understand what the code does. So isn't it better just write it and do a favor to everybody else in your team to say, here is a comment, or maybe you found something more like risky and say, okay, this specific line of code, if you mess up, then everything else will fail, right? Isn't it better for you to write a comment and just put a warning for the rest of your teammates? So, but the other things also, like maybe the program itself is not explained very well and you wrote it, and then you wrote a comment to make sure that in the future developers, whoever is going to come and touch that piece of code, they get some idea about what they're dealing with, so they can make modification changes without having to worry about what's really going to happen. So comment is something that we write for even for our own notes, but for coworkers mostly, or even for later to use. But you want to put something important about the piece of code that you wrote, or instruction how to use it, right? So you may wrote a utility for your team, then you want to write comments and put enough information so somebody can actually use whatever you wrote. Okay, so hopefully everybody is clear on the comments. The next thing is we're going to talk about is variable. Now, how many people here, and I know if some of you guys did the class before, so what is a variable? Who can answer this question? Okay, what is a variable in general? Like, if you really like having a conversation with me, forget about programming. And I said, okay, there is really a lot of variables here. We can't really, pinpoint this issue. There's a lot of things going on. So what does that mean to you?
Not consistent.
Exactly, not consistent. It could change based on different situation, condition, whatever is the case. In programming, variable is a container, and we stores the value. Now, what is the value? We don't know, right? And depending on what kind of variable that is, the content within that variable or the container will change, right? It can actually it can be really anything. It could be integer, it could be string. Now, the reason why it is a variable is because in program, whenever we deal with something uncertainty, and let's say you are asking user for their age, we can put it into a variable so we can use it later to address them. We can ask them for their date of birth, and so that way later maybe we can send them a nice email through our program when their date of birth is, reached on that day. So these variables, again, definition is variable contains, or it's a container that stores data. Okay, this is that stores data value, so that way you can use it. Now in Java or many languages, or specifically Java, variable, when you declare that, hey, this is my variable, you tell Java exactly what type of the variable that is. Okay, you have to tell it, otherwise it's gonna complain. So let's say we want to say my age, for example. So variable, generally you want to basically go ahead and create a name for the variable. So let's say my age is equal to whatever, right? I want to put real age, guys. So I'm going to put 60, right? So now here you have, let's say my age is equal to 60. But we didn't tell Java if this is a number or not, right? It could be any kind of number. There could be multiple type of numbers, right? There is numbers with decimals, and we call that a different kind of variable, right? So now in this case, you have to tell, if you're declaring it you're saying that I would like to store 60 inside of my age, which is the name of the variable. And one thing that we usually do when we create a name in Java, we always start with a lowercase, and then the next word is going to be uppercase, and then the next word is going to be uppercase if you have more than one word. That is called camel casing. So just remember that for now, but you will probably get used to it by the time we reach end of this Java class. So now I have to say int. Because it's a number, I just said int, which means integer. Integer is a variable type that will contain a whole number. It doesn't give you a decimal back. Okay, so if you have 60.99, it will only give you 60. That's it. Okay, so it will never basically work with decimals. So now what else do you need, right? So just think like that. There is a different kind of variables that are out there, and we're going to learn all of them in order to be able to create programs. If you don't know this, then how would you actually create your program? So now this information that we put in there. So for example, the first one we should be actually learning is called string data type. So I can say name, and let's say first and n should be uppercase because it's a new word. And I can say, let's say Dave, and then string last name is equal to Johnson, right? So let's say this is the name we just typed. And as you can see, we told Java, hey, this is going to be a string. So what is string? String stores text, okay? Or any special, it could be a special text. It could be even inside of the text, it could be a character such as number, but it is going to be classified as string. Now in a string, as long as you have double quotation, it becomes a string. Okay, so now what if I have something like this? Is it still a string? Who agrees and disagrees?
Yes, it's a string.
Yes.
It is still a string because it only cares about the quotation. It is pretty selfish, right? It only cares about what's out there. What is basically, it doesn't matter.
In there, would it be fine?
Yeah, let's put numbers. Okay. Does it make any difference?
Nope.
It doesn't make any difference to Java. Java was like, oh, you told me already this is going to be a string. So no matter what you put in there, I'm going to give you in return. That's it. It will give you the same thing in return. That's it. Okay. So a string is something that is inside of double quotation. It meant to hold values. It meant to hold text value, right? So now a text can be anything, right? Well, is this a text? It is a text, right? So really, like, you know, whatever you think is a text, you can put it in here. So actually anything on your keyboard right now, you can put it inside of this double quotation, it will still work. It's because you're putting double quotation first. So again, anything inside of double quotation, it is a string in Java. Okay. All right, so let me just fix his name. Okay. The next one. And I'm going to teach you guys maybe like few more, and then we move on. And then as time comes and we face maybe new data types, we're going to learn about those. The next one is a float. F-L-O-A-T, I believe. Okay. And float is meant for having a integer that may have decimals. Okay, because you're not gonna basically use if let's say somehow you get a user is entering like they are like, let's say 6.99 or whatever is the case, maybe their heights, right? So now what are you gonna do? Your program is gonna take the data, but it's gonna ignore everything after that period, right? So you have to be able to write a program that will use appropriate data type, so that way you can get the appropriate results. Okay, so float starts with obviously the float as a data types. Then you have to provide the name. So let's say we are talking about the heights. Heights is equal to, so I'm putting this as a variable. So I'm saying heights is equal to something, right? So maybe 5.7 at this point, right? And we have to also put an F in the end of the of your float number variable, the value, because that's how the float works, right? There is another way to do the same without putting this F. I will not get into that for now. Now, at this point, we learned integer, whole number. We learned float, that is, after decimals or anything that has decimals. We learned string. Okay, so now can we do something with these to make a small program? Anybody with ideas?
The biography of
yeah, you can customize biography. You can actually say, these names you can actually collect from the customer. All right, and you can say, okay, give me the names, and then you would then be able to write a small program that will, no matter who is typing it, they will know exactly who that is, and then it will, their age, their, this information will ask in the very beginning, and then give them a very much, whatever they need. So maybe we'll write some horoscope based on, their age or something, or their month of birth, whatever is the case. We'll write some simple programs out there. But first we have to do some math, right? Because program, like you'll see, like you'll manipulate programs with math in order to get what you need. Even if you're creating a mortgage calculator, you can actually do that right now. But you need to know how do you do some math operation. You can declare as many as variable as you need to, but there is different kind of variables. So we'll talk about those in the next classes. The next one is gonna be, okay, so we talked about the data types. Did we talk about the Boolean? Boolean is another one, right? So now there is another data type. It's called Boolean. Okay, and in Boolean you can only have, okay, let me just say, what should I name this? I'm just trying to find a name. So maybe like their working age or whatever is the case. So maybe we can classify them. Working is true. So this person is working, still actively working. It's not retired. So what is Boolean? Boolean is basically true or false. It can only have two outcome. That's it. You can only have either true or you can have false. That's it. Okay, that's all you have to know. So everything that we just talked about these data types, there are other data types as well. We'll probably get into that. There is one called primitive data type, and there is one called non-primitive data type. And basically we'll cover that as well. But for now, let's, I don't want to confuse you guys. I want to write maybe a small program to see what we can do with this information, maybe do some math also, and kind of like, kind of give it useful information to the customer at this point, right? So now, first thing first, we probably need user input, so that way we can actually get the data from the user. So that way we don't have to deal with, these are right now, these are static, meaning this information is right here, right? We didn't do anything extra. So in order to get the user input, we need to use Java. I think there is something called scanner. Then we can use, so scanner is like a utility. So scanner class will allow us to take information from the user, okay? And the way that we're going to use a scanner, so for example, first name, we want to get it from the user, so I'm going to type it here, right? I'm going to say, first I'm going to create a scanner, okay, instance of this scanner, and I'm going to say, let's say, we have to put it under some sort of name, so I'm going to say my object is equal to scanner, and I want to grab the information from system, so system.in. Okay, that's where the line ends. So we just created an object at this point, and then we're gonna go ahead and insert new. Oh, we need to put new. Okay, that's I forgot. Okay, so the way that we create an object in Java is by using the new keyword, and we need the class name. Okay, and that's what we just did, right? Now, if I want to grab a first name, obviously we don't need this anymore. So we want to grab the first name. And the way we're going to do it is we're going to ask for it, so that way at least you can see what you are really asking, right? So I can say something like, please enter your first name. And obviously the program is going to be really, really basic. Okay, so, and then maybe something like this, welcome to like something, right? First program, right? So now welcome to first program, and then it says please enter your first name. So if we're gonna take the first name from them, we should be able to collect it under something. So first name, this is up until this is fine, but instead I'm gonna say right here, because this is gonna be coming from the user, I'm gonna say my object, and I'm gonna say dot next line. So I believe this is the one. All right. So now this actually gets it will basically read the user, whatever the user types in here. Okay. And then it will grab it. So let's see if this line up until this line works. I'm going to comment out everything else for now. Okay. So notice like I use the shortcut to comment everything at the same time. So now let's say first name, we're going to print out to say your name is this, right? So I'm going to say something like your name is something, right? Or whatever is the case, plus is going to be the variable. Remember, Java already knows what, what this is, because you already declared it before. So you don't have to put it inside of the quotation. Okay. Now, if I go ahead and run it, and now you're going to see something different this time. Okay, so let's just wait. Okay, so it says, please enter your first name right here. You see? Oh, we have a 9 printout, so we should just remove that. Okay, so please enter your first name. So I'm going to say Java, right? Enter. Okay, so you can see your name is Java, right? That's exactly what we wrote, and it showed up here. At this point, if we do create command line application, we can do pretty complex stuff if we need to, right? But let's go through a basic one. So we're gonna collect the first name, last name, and this is gonna be the attempt to learn the data types. This is going to be the attempt to learn the basics. And then obviously, as the time goes by, the next class, we're going to probably get a bit more and more into what we really need to learn. And hopefully these, I just don't want anybody getting scared and kind of like, you know, feel like it's too much. So again, we're going to do a very basic program, and then maybe at some point we're going to write some games or something. Okay, so now you got the first name, right? So we don't really print out, we will actually know it worked. So I'm gonna go ahead and get the last name also. And just to make my life easy, I can just copy, and then I'm just gonna change this to last name. Okay. And then the next thing is, okay. The next thing is we said we're gonna need, okay, last name is done. Okay, so next thing is age, right? So I can say, now this time I'm gonna make a mistake in purpose, and I just need you guys to, you know, help me with this. All right, so my age, and did I do the correct thing, right? But obviously I need to say enter your age. Did I do the correct thing, guys?
No, you should have put int.
Why?
For the whole number.
Yeah, we want, can somebody be like 5.5 in
No,
terms of age? Okay. So then we will use int because we want to be able to get a data that we can actually go ahead and manipulate and be able to use. So we have to wrap this under. So you see, like the IDE is nice enough to say, okay, if you're gonna want int, then we want this to be wrapped, because when the this method specifically that gives you a string. Okay, no matter what they type, it could be age to whatever number, this will give us always a string. So now we have to convert this into a int by using a method, and it's also suggesting to me right now. So I'm going to wrap it, and now integer.parseInt. So we're saying whatever we get from the user, consider that is a number. Okay, so it will convert it into a number. So now if the user doesn't enter a number, it will tell them like, hey, you know, I was expecting a number and you entered illegal character, whatever is the case, right? So just know the conversion. This is something that is brand new to you, but again, we're going to talk about this conversion as time goes by. Okay, so the next one, so we got the age, first name, last name, and all of that stuff. So maybe like the first message, we can tell them like your birth year. Maybe we can predict their birth year. Can we predict their birth year or not? If I know their age right now today at this point of time, can I find out which year they were born?
yes.
Okay, so we know which year they born. Give me some, what is the formula for that?
This year minus their age.
Okay, that's pretty straightforward. So now we're going to say int birth year is equal to, so we're going to store it under another variable, because then we can actually print it out if needed. So I'm going to say this year is, we already know. So for our sake, we're going to just write this year, which is 2022 minus my age right there. It's a whole number, so it's not really complaining about anything. So at this point, I'm going to say something like this, standard out println. So guys, if I copy paste, don't do the same. You'll learn better if you type it, but I copy paste because we save a few extra seconds. So I'm going to say your birth year is, right? So you're kind of like predicting some things for this user at this point. I'm going to just go ahead and enter this and let's go ahead and run it. And let's see what happens next. Okay, so this is welcome to first program. Please enter your first name. I said Dave. Okay, now it's something different. Rock Last name, Johnson. Please enter your age. He's probably what, 50? I don't know, like 45, 50 probably, right? So enter 50. So now it says your birth year is 1972. Do you feel like sky's the limit right now when you want to create something? No.
Yes,
Nope.
yes.
Would it,
I mean, I feel like sky's the limit.
would
Yeah.
their month
Mhm.
to like be accurate?
You can, but you have to ask them like a little bit more information, because just by knowing age, you don't know what month they were born, right? So the calculation that you're going to be doing, you have to be really, you have to ask them that, yeah, I guess that information, it cannot be predicted, right? Because month and a year and the day, they have to kind of tell you. The reason why we were able to calculate the birth year is because we know the current year, and we also know their their age, right? So that's why. Now,
Just for kicks, if the year is now, 2023, but we don't need to update this code, how does that happen? How does that work? Is our code
so
invalid at that point?
normally, yeah, the code is invalid, and we don't do this in a real program. We never put like data that can be invalidated later. So we should be grabbing the date from the system, not from here, not from just writing it like this. This is called hard coding. This is called static value. So that means this value, regardless of what happens, the world ends and it's still going to say 2022. But ideal situation would be grabbing the number from the system to read the system time and say, okay, what is the year today? You know, so now the question to your answer for month and a year, month and a day, if they say today is my birthday, then yes, you can predict their month and a year and all that stuff, right? All three combination, you can say exactly your birthday is this. Let's not go that far. I think we're so far so good, right? So now maybe you want to write something, right? Maybe you want to write because you know the birth year and all that, maybe you want to write some horoscope, right? So I'm going to create I'm going to grab a horoscope for this person, right? I'm going to just, let's say, just go find something randomly online. So we can say whoever is born in, like, let's say whatever year. So let's see. Okay. Horoscope. Or you know what? Let's do calculation on baby boomer. So what is the okay, baby boomer? Let's do calculation to see if this guy is a baby boomer, right? So what is the age? I'm really bad at it. Okay. Born from 1946 to 19. Okay. So what if you have to tell them? So let's say people like me don't know if somebody is a baby boomer and you want to tell them if they are. So this program is just to basically tell people if they're boomer or not, right? How does that sound?
Yeah.
So the only thing they do is enter their age. So let's do more calculation, and before, so we probably don't need this right now. So we're gonna say if something, right? So if, let's say, birth year is, right? So if birth year is, let's say, more than 1946 and let's say less than this guy, and birth year is less than 1946. Okay, then something happens, right? But anything else, you're not a boomer, you might be, maybe millennial will write that also. So let's finish this one first. So we can actually classify different group of people based on their years of birth. So let's do that. Okay, so so now you are free to write something here, right? So maybe you want to write some article or something, or something that is going to be meaningful for the boomers. So Okay, let's see. Okay, so I found like a website that says there is a they have a list of jokes for baby boomers. So I'm gonna just copy one and then paste it here. So we're just telling jokes. Okay, so something like 60. Okay, that's a big joke. Okay, that's a huge joke actually. So I'm looking for like maybe 2 line, 3 lines, so we don't have to read through the whole thing. Oh goodness. Okay, I'm gonna go to another website now. I'm on my second screen, so that's why you guys can see it. Let's see. What does the boomer say? The longest lead boomers are the fun. Okay, so let's see. I mean, I don't know. Trying to find the right kind of joke.
Did you
that I can-
have to put in the comments, or that's just
Where? Which
Uh,
comments?
/ 1946 to 1964? The line
This
20,
one? Line 23?
22.
22. This is a comment, right? Because this is the reason I put it in here, because I don't know what the age limit for a boomer should be, right? So at least this gives me a note. So I can also put it in here as a note for the rest of the people too.
That doesn't show up on like the output, right? That just shows up for in the hard code, correct?
Yep. This is just for you and for any programmer, you know. Okay, so I'm gonna go to just Wikipedia. This is just to make my life easy, guys. I don't want to think too much. So I'm gonna go ahead and type this in. So now, oof, okay. It copied everything. Boomer's joke. Let's see. I don't know why my computer is so slow. It's running too many things. A second. Boomer's joke. Let's see. Okay, so we're basically delivering joke to people depending on, you know, their I guess error and their time basically, right? So this is something written by somebody called Annie, and let's see. I hope that makes sense. I'm gonna put it right here. Okay, so it says behind every successful baby boomer Zoom web. Okay. Webinar, there is a underpaid 24 years old intern. Okay, fine, that's okay by me. So we're insulting somebody actually if they're at that age, but okay. So let's go ahead and write something if anything else. But you know what if like somebody is a different else, right? So somebody's more hipster, whatever is the case. So we'll write that in a minute. But for now, let's try to, so in this case, our test case, and if we want to check if boomer works or not, what should be the age, guys? If you look at this, is like almost like a unit test. If you look at this, you can get me enough. You can get me a year. Sorry, you can get me at least an age that will fall under this.
55.
35. Okay. All right, so let's run this real quick and notice one thing when I'm running my program, there is no red marking or anything. So that means it's working, right? So you see now I can type. So I'm not happy with this one yet. So I'm gonna say, I'm gonna write something also a little bit more personal. So that way we can have the customer feel like, whoa, we care about them, right? So I can say something like, hey, right, first name, right? So we can use address them by first name. And okay, here's a joke for you. Maybe here is a joke for you, right? Enjoy, something like that, I guess, you know. And now see we are using their name to say this, right? So let's go ahead and terminate this and then run it again. Okay, so I press this, it should be, okay, it was interrupted, that's fine. Okay, the first name is Rock. Last name is Johnson. Okay, enter age is at 55, okay, enter. And the process is finished. Now something happened, right? So seems like
55 won't work because
it's not the,
yeah.
what
Yeah,
is the age?
It's 50, it has to be from 58 to 76, I believe. So 70 would work.
Okay, so let's do it. So that was a bad test data. Okay, so our test case, it didn't even hit this mark, right? Because of that. Okay, so Rock, age is 70, enter. Okay, so notice like few things, few mistakes. Again, this is the honest mistake that developers make sometime, where you see here, everything seems fine, but then there is no space. The first name and there is no space. So that's not their fault. They just need to add a space there. So they go like this. And now, oh, okay, it's gone nuts. Okay, and then a single space and then a plus, right? Now, if I type this, and these are the things that we find as a QA when we test their work. Sometimes you're like little things, you'll never find bigger items, maybe things doesn't work. So Homer Simpson, age is 70, as you said, and there you go. Hey Homer, here is a joke for you, enjoy. So it's pretty personalized, right? So you can actually make a lot of prediction about people. So for example, you can do mortgage calculation. You can actually create a calculator that will be used by yourself or somebody else. But you have to know the formulas. You have to know how to get the percentage, and then based on the percentage, you have to calculate the whole 30 years monthly payment versus the interest and all that stuff to kind of get a different breakdown. And it requires a little bit of brain power, because now you sit down, you have to concentrate and understand what you're trying to do. But this is a small program to kind of today to teach us a little bit about how we can turn this small program into something more meaningful, to have people use this, maybe get some benefit out of this as well. But for a starter, this is this is not too bad. But you can also create maybe tic-tac games based on whatever output you get. You have to make a lot of prediction, and you have to kind of save their data and tell them when they win or they lose, right? A lot of things that we can do, right? We can create other games as well. So we can create something more visual, right? And we're not going to do visual. I don't want to disappoint you guys. We're not creating anything visual. We're going to be purely, working with command line programs. This is command line, right? Where you write things on the command and it gives something in return. And so how do you guys feel today about so far what we did? Does it feels like it's too much, or we can continue?
Continue.
Continue. Okay. All right. So now we can go into more let's say a little bit more complex, right? So now let's say, what if you want to, anybody else? Okay, let's say 1964 and beyond. Who are these? These are, okay, so let's see. Age group. Okay. Years of birth for. Okay, you guys can also do some research for me. Give me the years. But I know that 23 and, oh no, 1981 and 1996 age. Whoever born between these is considered as millennial. So, okay, many of you guys are here. So let's do it this way. This is another age group. So now I can say else if, because we have to put a condition, and the condition is going to be this very much same thing. The same birth year is going to be if it's more than 1981 and right birth year is less than. Okay, we missed one thing, right? More than or equal to, right? So we have to think about our boundaries as well as a developer, right? We can't just go ahead and say 1996. If somebody's born in 1996, it will not consider them as a millennial. So we have to say more than or equal to, less than or equal to, okay? So now we can say some jokes about millennials. So you can say something like, hey, here's a joke for you. And then we will just write a new joke. Okay, and quickly you can see how your program getting bigger and bigger and bigger, right? So, and as time goes by, complexity will hit, right? So we'll make this a little bit more complex as we are progressing through the class. But right after this, I have to still cover some topics, right? So I'll get back to primitive data types and non-primitive data types because we have to talk about those. And then we have to talk about operations and Boolean and econels and other things. So let me just go ahead and finish this part at least. Let's see if I can find the right joke. Okay. Okay, so it seems like this is gonna be just fine for us. So, oh, no, didn't copy that properly. Anybody
What's the-
here? Okay, so the joke is for every broke and unemployment millennial, there is a boomer earning 6 figures that can open a PDF. Okay, that sounds about right. Let's go ahead and test this. Now we have the test case, and obviously we have to make sure that we do the right thing about this, right? So more than or equal to, right? And then less than or equal to. And the same thing, more than or equal to, less than or equal to, okay? So just keep that in mind. Let's see if I can fix my code a little bit better, format it with the proper format. Okay, that's good. Let's see if I can run it. And what was the question?
Oh, what program is this that you're using?
Which, oh, this tool right here. This is IntelliJ. So we're gonna, moving forward, we're gonna use IntelliJ for our test automation, for writing programs, whatever we want to do, right? A developer, they write programs somewhere, and that is called IDE, Integrated Development Environment. And so tools like this they use. There were times where people use Notepad++. There was time when people simply used Notepad, and there were times where people just basically used Word document even, right, to write their code and then copy paste it to make it work, or save it in the appropriate extension to make it work as a program. But IDE is something that we use for professional purpose, because IDE, not only that it tells you early if you make a mistake, but it also gives you a lot of suggestion. Not everybody can remember everything, so IDE kind of tells you what you need or what you're trying to do. So if I write system here, look, SYS, and it's automatically, it automatically is giving me the method that I need to use for printing, right? So the suggestion and the information that you'll get from the IDE is the benefit, but the program that I'm writing is pretty much by itself. It has nothing to do with the IDE itself. It has no relation. Okay, so now the first name again, Rock Johnson. And now let's say I'll say I'm probably like 21. Okay, so 21 doesn't. Okay, 21 doesn't fall under this, so maybe like 30 is a good age. Okay. So we really should have another statement here, right? So what if these two conditions doesn't match? Maybe and maybe we want to say something else. So I'll just say we have no joke for you, something like that. Maybe it's because obviously we don't know their age. We don't know if they fall under two different group of people. So let's see. I'm gonna say, hey. Something more like meaningful, maybe. Let's see. Sorry, we have no joke for you, right? So maybe like that. Okay. So now we have, how many test cases we have right now, guys? Who wants to answer this question? So give me a count of test cases here. If I was to test this program, how many test cases do you think I will need at this point? You can count out loud too, if you want.
I think it's going to be one for each request that you're making from the user.
Say 8+.
So give me a logic why this is 8. You can walk me through.
If you're under the boomer year, then it's gonna be like a negative test case. If you're in the middle, that's 1. If you're above, that's 1. So that's
Okay.
3 for age.
Okay.
So it's like 6 right there.
So you're saying 3 here.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and then you're saying 3, another 3 here.
Yeah.
6, and then anything else, right? So left or right between those ages, even the middle age also. So you're gonna have to cover 3 test cases here too.
Yeah.
Because just because you want to test all the numbers on the left, all the numbers on the right, and in the middle between these two as well. So there are.
Yeah.
Mhm.
The name, first name, last name, if it's with them. Yeah, it could be like 9+.
Yeah. Okay. That's just about the not right number. But you can always come up with more. Like I said, test case, this is about you, how critical you want to be. You can be more and more. So no, I want to test to do, basically, I want to make sure that this is more than a recall. So I want to see if it works if I'm hitting the boundary, right? And things like that. So now we're talking about 6 test cases per else statement, if an else statement. So 6, 6, and then under, so it's going to be here. And then if you want the names also, you want to make sure the name is printed. So for each one of them, you'll have one to make sure that names, is tested. So now you have actually 21 test cases. All right, so now that we wrote this, let's just get it running. And then once we are happy with it, we'll move on to the next topic for the day. So again, Rock, Johnson. Your age. So like, let's say, where do we want to hit, guys? This or this or this?
21.
If you want to hit, okay, so if you do 21, is going to hit this one. We already, so okay, let's see. Okay, so say, hey, Rock, sorry, we have no job for you, right? If I put 30, I believe 30 would probably hit the middle, right? Because that falls between 1981 to 1986.
Did you also do the I have no joke for you for the Gen X, the one that's in between the 64 and 81?
64 to 81. Yeah, so we can actually create another one, another else difference. Yeah, if we care to handle those, because now 64 to 81 is fine. So it's going to be 65 to 1980 is going to go here, because if this condition doesn't match, if this condition doesn't match, it will go in here. So anything else, all the leftover will be coming into this one.
Yeah.
Okay, so you see, now this is a joke for the millennial. So, and again, like I said, sky's the limit. Obviously, this is something that I wanted to grab your attention with, but we still have to get back to the basics. We gotta learn why if and else we haven't even touched, right? So I had to just grab your attention by giving you a small program. But now let's talk about the, let's see. So I'm gonna just continue to type it here. So as you can see, my container starts from here and it ends it right there. So I'm gonna keep everything inside of my main. So I'm gonna, next we're gonna learn, the next thing is, we learned the basic data types. These are, int, float, we probably missed character. So character is basically in Java, starts with char, and char basically, let's say a letter. And it's basically single code with a letter, single letter. That's it. That is how you declare a specific letter. So maybe at work you're grading, maybe you're creating an app for restaurants and you want to, store their grade from the health department. Then this is the, data type that you'll be using for yourself to store this information. We talked about Boolean, I believe, and then let's talk about the primitive data types. So all this time that we were talking, we talked about non-primitive such as string. We didn't talk about arrays and classes yet, but we worked with classes. So now there are other types, like for example, and I'm gonna write it here, byte. Okay, so when I try byte, it already understands, right? So byte already is being understood. Byte basically stores the whole number from -120 28 to 127, right? And then we have short. Short is a whole number from -32,000 to 768. So again, I will not go too deep into this because unless you use them, you really cannot remember them. So as the time comes, there is like 5 or 6 type of other data type that specifically holds different value. And maybe, you know what, let me Google it real quick and find this out for you. Okay, so primitive data types, Java. PREMIT data types. So we can get a list of these. There we go, long. Shouldn't click on that one, but okay. This is just a paragraph. Let's see. All right, there you go. So this is probably better. Oh, by the way, for you guys to follow, it's gonna be this. This is gonna be your note. We will follow this W3 scrolls for 2 reasons. So one is that any developer that you will ever know, they use this because they pretty much have everything. This is point of reference. Okay, this is where you come in to say, okay, I don't know this. How can I use this, right? So you will be using this website throughout your remaining career as an automation expert. You're going to keep coming here and say, okay, I want to deal with this. How do I do it? It will have a reference instead of giving you a paragraph and a book and, to read for like the whole day. You do get a little bit of exactly what you need to do, and you can actually click on it to try it yourself. Okay, instead of writing a program like what we did. So now, different data types. We talked about int, we talked about float, we talked about character, we talked about the Boolean, and we also talked about string. Okay, so this is how we are declaring these variables in order to make sure that we're able to use these different data types for our program. And what we use it for is really up to what we're making. So whatever you're making, you're going to be using the right one as you need. Then we have the other ones like primitive data types, which is byte, short, int, long, float, double, and Boolean. So I will not really go ahead and ask you guys to memorize this stuff. No, just know that they are available to you and just know what they are. So when the time comes, you can actually use them. All right. So for example, byte is byte size is 1, which stores a whole number from -128 to 127. Short is 2 byte, which stores basically -32 to 768. So they do have a limit. And then as you can see, let's see what we have. Integer. Integer has a limit of a pretty big, right? But then sometime you'll see this number alone is not helpful. So if you work with a data center or whatever is the case, you may deal with a very, very long number, right? So now if you use integer, your program is not gonna run. It will throw an exception saying, I don't deal with this kind of numbers, right? It's big. So integer has its limit of 2 billion, I believe 2 billion and some change, as you can see, negative and positive on both end. But then what if you have more than 2 billion, right? Then you will have to use long. Okay, so long will give you a bigger range, and I don't think you'll need many bigger than this. But if you do, then that means you're doing something really significant, right? But I don't think you'll ever deal with any bigger than this side. This is the limit at this point. So then we have float, and we talked about it, decimals. It goes up to 6 to 7 decimal digit. And then we have double. Double does the same thing. It also does the same exact thing as float. The only difference is that double will have more decimals, like 15 decimals. So if you have .11111 all the way to 15, then you want to use double, and then float you want to use if you have like maybe 1 or 2 decimals. It's really depend on what you're dealing with, okay, at the time. Now, Boolean stores true and false only. That's it. Boolean will store true and false. Character is just a single digit. Now, you may ask, hey, why do we need all this stuff? I don't want to use them, whatever is the case. I just want to write a game. Game is all about math. When you want to really calculate and kind of predict where the gamer is and what kind of actions they're doing, exactly the coordinate between, what areas of the screen they're touching, and whatever is the case, if you're creating iPhone app or even Android, you need to be able to do maths. Okay, and in order to do math, you're gonna need a lot of numbers and a lot of variable that will be different data types that you can deal with. Okay, so these are some that you now know that you have available. So in the future, when you want to use them, make sure you Google them and find them and then use them appropriately, or even come here for the reference and be able to use. And no, you don't have to memorize them. You just know that these are available to you as a developer to use them for your needs. Okay, so the next one, I guess numbers, we covered it. We covered the, okay, let's see, we covered Boolean, okay, non-primitive. Let's see what we were talking about, non-primitive. Okay, okay, string. So we talked about string. So now we have to talk about classes, and we have to talk about interface and all that stuff. But right now, like, just know that non-primitive data types are basically string, array, and classes and interface. So we're going to learn what array is. We're going to learn what classes is. They have their own lessons, because it's pretty big topic for all three. So we're going to probably learn how to manipulate an array and things like that. Now, before we go into array, I'm going to probably give you guys an example how to deal with an array. Let's talk about casting. I don't want to go all the way in finishing it, because I think it's going to be unfair to you guys. Because these topics right here, if and else and things like that, it'll require a little bit more mindset. I think you guys did enough for the day. What do you guys say? I write another program and we learn something, and then we pick it up from here at the next class. Okay. So let's write an interview program, right? Something that people will ask in an interview. How's that?
Okay.
No. All right. Okay. Something more interesting to grab your attention, because this is like toward end of, it's already beyond 10. So I know it's probably something, you guys probably tired. But if I start these topics right here, Java, if and else, switch statement, all of that, it's gonna go really heavy right away. Okay, so let's go in there and then create a interview questions. Usually they ask something like, oh, can you write something that will return only, let's say, even number, for example, right? Even number is one of the, I guess, basic programming challenges that they will probably give you if they ever do, but that's very basic. So if I want to get an even number, we have to think about some operations. So I'm going to go into operation real quick to cover something, then we'll come back and do some even numbers. So now the operation is needed because, again, like if I was to show you, it's going to be again unfair. Just go and completely write a program that you have no knowledge of. Now, operation means that you can do math. You can actually plus, minus, you can do division. So here are some operations that you have to know. And there is an important one here that is being used so much by any programmers. So I'll tell you which one. You know what, guess which one is being used the most, or at least which one is the most important one and being used the most. Here, like just look at the symbol, give me a guess.
Plus.
And then minus probably, right? But
Yeah.
and then I guess like it has its own like in serial basically in the priority. But the most important one I feel like is this one, and I'll explain in a little bit because this saves so much time. If we use this, it's called modulus. It saves so much time of a programmer, and we're going to use this to find even numbers. Now, obviously, I don't have to tell you how to do, you know, operations like, you know, plus, minus, multiplication, division. This is how we're going to be doing the math operation. The only thing that I will cover is these three, because this we are familiar with already. These three is basically, the first one is modulus. It returns a remainder of division. So now if it's x is 20, modulus 2 is the remainder.
No.
Okay, so x is, let's say 5, and we do modulus 2. Do we have a remainder? What is that remainder? And you always go to the nearest number to divide with.
Should be 1.
1, right? All right. What do we call it in math? I forgot. We call it remainder, right? It's been a while.
Yeah.
But anyways, we here call modulus on the, at least on the Java side, and this kind of gives us a lot of leverage to find things that we would like to find, and I'll show you how this works. Now we got the plus plus is increment and minus minus is basically decrement. So this is all gonna add 1, and this is gonna be adding minusing 1, or whatever you want basically. So if you put plus plus 5, then it will minus 5. Sorry, it will add 5 every time. If you say minus minus 5, it will add 5 every time. So we're gonna probably do this very soon, in about a few minutes. So just by knowing this, we can probably do something. Obviously, we're gonna do a loop. So we're gonna get to the loop soon. But let's say this program, I'm gonna go ahead and create a new lesson, right? And this is just again, this is just to grab a little bit of attention from you guys. Nothing to basically giving us a challenge or anything like that, but this is to make sure that we have some understanding that programming is really, really cool. Okay, so I'm gonna say even number. All right, my computer is so slow. Okay. Now, what do I need here? This is a new class, right? The first thing that I will say I'm gonna need, if it lets me, it's so slow. Okay. Yeah, I have multiple profile in this computer, so that's why maybe it's quite slow. But first thing we need is we need a what kind of stuff?
Public static.
Void main, right?
Mhm.
Hold on, let me just wait for my computer to load. Still. No. Let's see if I can move around. Okay, I can move around. Okay, that's good. So save me some time. Just copy this line, and you guys are free to do that because this is gonna always stay the same anyway. So, okay. So now let's say they said for 1,000 numbers, give me all the even numbers. Give me only the even numbers for 1,000. Okay. So now give me a way that you will be able to get me on the even numbers. Who wants to try? Like if you're doing math, give me a formula that will give me only even numbers. So I have a range of numbers.
Multiple by 2.
If is divisible by 2 and remainder is what?
What's the remainder?
0 remainder or something? Sorry, your voice.
0.
0, right? Okay. So now I'm gonna introduce you guys with something, but if you don't understand, that's totally okay. This is called for loop. So here I'm gonna say int I. I'm gonna create a variable I is equal to 0. So I'm gonna start with 0, right? Because if we're gonna go ahead and go count from 1 to 1,000, we might as well count from 0. And then I'm gonna say if I is less than 1,000, continue, right? So basically the first one is the start point. The second one is the end point. We're just saying this is where we're gonna go ahead and increase, exit. But then if we want to exit, how does the I knows that I is more than 1,000? It's basically we increment I by 1 every time, okay? So in this case, I'm gonna now say if now I is like a number, right? Because it's gonna be the second time the I becomes, okay, let's do a smaller amount to kind of like understand this. So now if I print I, what is the value of I in this case, right? So if I say system.out.println, and I say I want to print I, right? And then go ahead and run this real quick. Okay, this computer is pretty, I don't know why this is, so I'm gonna have to, okay, let me see if I can remove some stuff. Okay, so notice that it started printing from 0 to all the way 98 is because it's less than. So maybe like less than or equal to will be a better option. So I can get all the way to 100. And it's running. So right here, it's compiling, but it is pretty slow. Okay, so now we got the 100, 0 to 100. So now I'm asking you guys to give me only even numbers, period, right? So now I can say something like this, right? I can say if I is modulus 2, right? And then equal to, let's say 0. Okay, only then print the I. That's it. We're just saying only print I, right? All right, so let's see what's the deal here. Okay, it's working. It might throw an exception. Oh, okay, never mind. All right, well, so started from 0, 2, 4, 6, 8, whatever is the case. But what if you still want the, maybe we'll just say something like even number is this. What if you want the odd numbers also? And then all right, so let's go and run this real quick. It usually don't take that long, but my computer probably needs a restart. Okay. So now we can see 0 is even number, odd, and then so and so. We can actually exclude 0 if we want to. But now we have to put like another condition for the 0 if we want to. And then as you can see that it's kind of like doing all that calculation for you. Okay, so that is one of the, I guess, very basic coding challenge that they can give you, right? I don't think they give this one. This is just too basic, honestly. The most common one is actually called reverse a string. You take your name and you reverse it with program, right? That's the most common one. And I'm going to teach you guys maybe the next time. I feel like today we had enough. We learned 2 different coding challenge, or maybe, okay, this is just a lesson and this is a challenge, the very basic one. But the next class, we're going to learn exactly what loop is. We're going to learn. So let's see what are the agenda. This is where we're going to get the topics anyway, because this is something that I want you guys to follow. And moving forward, even if you get a job, I want you to continue to follow this website for reference. So you don't have to get a book. You don't have to really like carry a book to work. You can just go to Google and go to this website. And you're totally fine, even if your boss catches you in the back to see that you're browsing here, it's totally fine. Everybody knows that people use this for reference. Now, the other thing that I can tell you guys is that at the end, if you do interested in certifications to become certified Java developer, they do have certifications. So basically it is, I think you have to go on site for the exam, I believe. But anyway, so if you are interested, you will be able to get certifications. Any certification that you need, this is probably one of the best place to get it from, because everybody knows what W3 is. Okay, everybody knows what W3 is, any programmer. There are other certification division out there that are more like recognized out there, but I think if you want to be a programmer and then you have W3 certifications, they know, like a programmer will know. If a programmer is hiring, they will know that this has some meaning. You actually went through this. All right, so operation is where we are right now. And then the next class, we're gonna finish the remaining half, okay? So now once we finish the remaining half, we are able to create a more meaningful programs, maybe we can create a mortgage calculator, we can create loan calculator, we can create car loan calculator, whatever is the case. Come up with some ideas. So next time we can create that. And after that, the agenda would be like methods, learning methods, and then going more into deep. So actually the next 3 to 4 class, maybe depending on your speed, 2 to 3 class or 3 to 4 class, whatever is the speed that you're going with. We're going to finish all of these topics that you can see here. And then we're going to jump in to use this program in order to automate test, in order to basically tell the browser what to do. And that's how we're going to do it. With that said, guys, I will let you guys, finish here today. And we finish at operation. So expect homework from here to here. Okay. And I'm going to basically create a homework that will at least require you to do some level of study from this. So you don't have to watch the video if you don't want to, but if you just come here and just do one, basically the homework is going to be here from here anyway. So you just can come in here and then go ahead and have some lessons and understand what it is, and then you will be able to then do the homework. So it's not going to be really complex because we're just talking about basic stuff. But the next class, we're going to do the remaining half, and it might be a bit more complex than today. Anything that I can answer before we end the day today? What was your expectation match? I mean, some of you guys probably touched programming for the first time, and you probably thought you're already going to create something more visual or game. Looks more like, sophisticated things, but how does this, was that something that you expected, or this is something you feel like Okay, this is fine. You'll be fine with this. No comments?
I think we'll be fine.
Yeah, so as like I said, you know, this is like ABCs. Once you finish, then it's up to you how deep you want to go with it, because the tool is provided to you, and now you can create complex logic in order to either, you know, create game, whatever you want to do. But remember, a single language by itself is not going to be very meaningful. You have to add a lot of other things, other utility in order to make things happen. All right, so just know that we are up from here, Java operators from here to here. So I would say, for your sake, just go and try yourself for now. And then one of the homework will be getting this guy in your system. Very easy. Download into the IntelliJ. So I'm gonna, like, on the homework, I'm gonna say, show me a screenshot of your IntelliJ that you downloaded it. So when you click on download, you don't want to get the paid version. Ultimate, we don't need that. We just get the community free version. That's what we will use at work too. And just download it and make it work, right? So how do you make it work? There is some requirements. So for example, your system is to have JDK, okay? But once you download it and you don't have JDK, meaning Java, then it will automatically downloads it for you, like this tool itself. But previously, when we first, I guess, like a couple of years ago, now things are much more easy. So the process would be, you go and download JDK first. And then once you finish downloading Java, then you want to download this. But I believe the recent version of IntelliJ allows you to download the JDK from the IDE itself, so you don't have to go anywhere else. All right, with that said, guys, I will see you guys on the next one, Saturday, and just know that it is going to be a little bit more complex, maybe lengthy, and then we're going to write more complex programs. Have a good night, and please do the homeworks.
Thank you. Good night.
Good night.
Good night.